We talked quite a bit about Bedrock. And I think what I specifically love about the other article is how Bedrock helps us in building in guardrails, right? It's built in security and reliability with, and so it also helps us being able to, as you were showing in your console, the multi-agent collaboration, right, between Barney and, but then it also goes a step further in where we've got the augmented generation or RAG, right? You've heard us talk about RAG before. This is again where I always mention Amazon Q as an easy way to establish your own RAG system, where if I'm chatting with a chatbot, I can ensure that it's looking at specific information on the back end for that.
Yes, let's do that, Coach. Before we jump into it, let me just make one statement here about SageMaker. If you notice that the Jupyter notebook that I pulled up, we didn't read through the code, but if you take an opportunity to go through that lab, which I'll put it in the chat here, you'll see we're importing Butter 3 to utilize a foundation model that we built out and we stored into Amazon Bedrock. The big deal around using SageMaker to do the development of your work and also incorporate Amazon Bedrock when you need it and where you can goes back to cost. If I do my development with SageMaker, I don't pay per API. I'm going to pay for instance hours. And that's going to be a lot better for me. I'll have an opportunity to say, you know what? I have a clear direction on where we're going as far as spending our money on testing. And so when it's time to deploy, I can just go ahead and pull that and use that Amazon Bedrock. So that's going to be good to go. There's also other things out there with SageMaker that kind of helps your process with scaling out, inferencing, and testing your model before deployment. There's one called SageMaker HyperPod that you can look to, and it's going to create containers for you. So it's going to use those GPU instances to scale things out so you can prepare your agentic solutions well for deployment as you're scaling. Right. And so just wanted to mention that because you're going to be preparing things to utilize that might be stored in Bedrock. If you have some developers out there who can get that system working for you, play around in SageMaker, you'll have a cheaper cost to do that.
We'll end on that first demo that's actually here. But again, just take some time to figure out what makes sense to you. And I go back to the easiest win for most individuals who are studying for the exam is using Bedrock, right? Using it as your own learning agent, remixing that app and create your own. Modify the widgets, play around, click edit, see what's in the drop-down list. And the more that you understand, especially when you're going through the domain topics around what's top key, what's inference, what are all these terms that may be terms that you haven't used before, right? It's not part of your everyday language. It certainly wasn't part of mine when I first started learning about it, right? When I was getting up to speed on things. But like everything, right? You're learning a new language. It's no different than you've got to jump into the deep end, so to speak, and you've got to immerse yourself in that language. Whenever I'm learning something new, or actually, whenever I'm learning something new, I immerse myself into whatever that may be. Whether I'm watching something on television, or I have something playing in the background, or I'm now seeing a bunch of things. And this is usually how things work, Greg. When you're focused on one thing, you start to see it represent or show up in other parts of your life that you probably didn't pay attention to before. You're shopping for a new car. All of a sudden, you're seeing that car all over the place, right? And so that's usually how the mind works, is whatever you're paying attention to, it starts to show up in other ways. But where I end with this is, don't be afraid. Jump into the deep end. Start by using whatever is free and accessible to you. Start by using the Bedrock app to remix and create your own or first Gen AI application. Show it off, right? Tag us in it if you want to show it off on LinkedIn. At the end of the day, it's about you and how you can move yourself forward, how you can upskill, reskill, how you can reinvent yourself from wherever you're at and where you want to get to. And I promise you, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, definitely a year from now, you'll look back and say, wow, I'm glad I took that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be glad. So glad we were able to talk through this thing with you. 12 weeks of going through the AI practitioner.
Can't believe it.
Let me tell you something. If you watched all of these videos and you haven't picked up on anything, let us know, because I don't think that'll be true, right? I think you picked up on at least something that you can take to the exam. And so I think that is awesome. Remember, as we pull up this exam guide and make our exit, let me grab that here. Remember that there are 5 different domains here. They all carry different weights. Prepare yourself for the exam by just going through these task statements. And a lot of the conversation that we've had is right there embedded in the task statements. And I want to see if you get 1,000 points, right? I want to see you cover all ground, get 1,000 points. You might not get 1,000 points. You just need 700 to pass. go forward, put your focus on practice exams, right? You've gone through the knowledge with us. Now it's time for you to start using those practice exams. But to end the session today, it was all about Domain 5. It was all about security, compliance, governance, and we wanted to put a highlight around agentic solutions. So if you're going for agentic solutions, know that you're getting something a little bit more than just some rule-based architecture that you've built out with traditional applications, right? You'll have a way to have a little bit more intelligence as you are querying each task, each process that is happening. I hope that's what you capture out of this conversation, that agents can do a good job of capturing a task, and right? And so by me passing off that task, I get to center my knowledge and my intelligence around what I am trained to do, right? So good deal, good deal. Don't forget Bedrock, everything that you need to know about Bedrock for the exam. Don't forget SageMaker. SageMaker is all up and through this thing. And so a few highlights around SageMaker. Again, just the cost of SageMaker when you're going through testing and inferencing. Do make sure that you read up about SageMaker endpoints, and you can use load balancing through that testing phase, right? These are small things that are on the exam. They don't carry a whole lot of weight, but it's good to, again, have that well-rounded understanding about things, and make sure you're having fun, right? So I guess we'll end with that. Have some fun, folks. If you don't pass the first time, don't worry about it. Try it again.
I didn't pass the first time. And I'm going to say this up front because it's important.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that failing is part of the process, but it actually is.
Yeah,
you learn more about yourself, and you learn more about how to approach things. And so it is instrumental in part of your journey. So don't be afraid is the reason why I keep saying that, right? Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of, okay, you failed the first time, no big deal. If you fail the second time, no big deal. You take it the third time. You keep going, right? This is where you can really just figure out who you are and who you want to be and move yourself forward. That's the easiest way for me to say this, right? It's all about yourself. Upskilling, reskilling. I don't think there's anyone who's not upskilling or reskilling or needs to at this point in time in 2025. So hopefully that resonates with you.
Yep, I totally agree. All right, folks. We'll see y'all next time around data engineering. Bye-bye.